The next thing I want to talk about are the resonant rings on a speaker. This goes together well with the Chladni plates or resonant strips on a vibrator, or you can also talk about waves on a string, standing waves on a string. There's lots of really cool things that you can do with this. So first off, let's show you how to use the function generator that produces the tones that power this speaker, which will cause this thing to shake up and down. So the first thing that you want to do when you're trying to learn how to use this function generator, there's buttons, dials, and these controls over here. First, let's make sure there's no buttons pushed in. So let's say you accidentally had some buttons. Let's get rid of all the buttons, okay? And you can push all these guys so that there's no buttons pressed. Now typically for this experiment, you want to push the button that says 50 right next to the power button. That means you can get frequencies up to 50 hertz. The 500 button, you can get frequencies up to 500. But we want the 50, so this will give us all frequencies up to 50. So usually that means between 5 and 50. Okay. Now we want to turn the output all the way up. You also want to select a type of wave. So usually we use either a sine wave or a square wave. The square wave's got a cool sound, so let's say we use the square wave today. And then over here, let's take a look. Let's turn these knobs both up to 12 o'clock. There's a little dot on there. You might not be able to see it, but in person you'll see it. And we want to have these up at the 12 o'clock position. Now you want to connect your cable. We typically use this cable. It's got BNC, that's what this is called, BNC at one end, and alligator clips on the other. And what you can do is you connect this to the output, so that the other two, neither one says anything about output, don't use them, or just remember bottom right. So you connect from the output, and then you come up here to the speaker. Now there is a little red cable here, but you don't really need to worry about it. This is the only thing connected. It doesn't matter if you go red to red and red to black. It doesn't matter in this case. So again, what do you want to check? You want to have the 50 hertz button pressed. You want to have sine wave or square wave pressed. You want the output all the way up. You want to be connected to the output, and none of these buttons are depressed. Okay, so there's depressed, and there's not depressed. So you want to have all of them in the off position and have these at the 12 o'clock position. Okay, in this case, I'm now going to turn this on, okay, and turn up the amplitude. And let me make sure, okay, I have a very low frequency there. And I've got this set on a sine wave. We're at maximum amplitude. And now we're going to adjust our frequencies here using this button. And as I adjust this, I could see that different rings will resonate. Let's get a nice resonant frequency there. There, this one's shaking violently. Maybe I can rotate this so you can see it a little bit better. Ooh, as we increase the frequency, now this guy's going again. Maybe let's drop this all the way down to the bottom one. The lowest frequency should get the largest one vibrating violently. There we go, that's looking great. And I'll turn this on axis so you can see. Let's let this get shaking. You could see here, you could see that for this very low frequency, this ring is in resonance. Whereas when we increase the frequency, we go to another ring, and as I keep increasing, let's look at the side view, as I keep increasing the frequency, we get to a smaller and smaller rings. But if you keep going past that, you can sometimes get to another harmonic. Whoa, I went too high there. There we go. We can see that if you get to a higher frequency, you can even get a harmonic of one of these other ones going. Let's see if I can get that here. Yeah. Whoa, how cool is that? And then let's go all the way back down so you can see. We could try this with this other setup. Let's take a look at these rings. So one of these works slightly better, and I think it's this one. As we increase the frequency, we're going to smaller and smaller rings resonating. And if you look on end, you can see some very cool resonances out of this. There you can see this wild standing wave set up in that ring. So you could talk about standing waves as you wanted. Now we're at this lower frequency. This one's really going. Let's see if we can get a higher frequency going on the larger ring. There we go. Right here you can see this ring's now resonating. We're no longer at the fundamental frequency, we're at the second harmonic. So we're seeing more wavelengths appear on the ring. And this is pretty tricky to do, but you can see that this yellow one is working pretty well. And if you keep going up, we might get higher frequencies for this. And then pretty soon we might see multiple harmonics at the same time. But at some point, this stops being very efficient. There we're getting a harmonic a little bit on this guy. And that's the resonant ring setup. One other thing I forgot. This demonstration is also coupled to the tennis ball resonator experiment. So you might also check that one out, watch the video, the tennis ball resonators. And that one we talk a little bit about how the mass and the length and the stiffness all matter in terms of determining these resonant frequencies. Or you could read about standing waves on a string, and that's related too.